Today's webinar, we're going to be focusing on host and host best practices and configurations. To start with, I just figured it was a good idea to kind of go with an overview of the concept of a host. So a host is going to be a centralized server that can link together multiple stores for reporting and maintenance purposes. If you have a chain of stores, whether it be anywhere from 2 stores to 20 stores to 50 stores, a host would be a good addition to that. So that way you have one central place you can get all the information gathered so that you can run reports on all of the stores at once or broken apart. And it's also a centralized place that if you would like, you could do any sort of maintenance. You can do your item maintenance, you could do customer maintenance, you can do operator maintenance, and then push it down to all the stores as necessary. So with that being said, you can come up with any combination of those. You can use it just for reporting, and you could have the stores do all of the operator item maintenance, whatever it is that whatever situation that you would like to do, or you could do some combination of any of them. It's really what works best for you and your business needs. So up here, I do have a host lab. I'm going to be showing both parts of this in SMS Pro, and I am going to be switching over to eSuite just so you can see some of the additional functionality that eSuite offers, specifically with reporting for the host. So I will be switching over to that later on in the webinar. But I am going to start in SMS Pro to go over the maintenance abilities with hosting and the idea of a multi-target and how you can utilize that to really help use the host to the best of its ability. So with host, it does look exactly the same. This is the same exact program that you're using at a store server. It is SMS Pro, so you don't need to learn any new program. It's all the same. The big change when you're going from a store environment to a multi-store environment or a host environment is the idea of starting to utilize multi-targets. So up here, you can see I have the targets up here. So this is my host. So I'm going to have 4 stores and I have my host. So these are my main targets that I can use. And if I need to target individual stores, so maybe my store 1 needs a different price than my store 2 needs a different price, that way I will be able to utilize the target table to target those. But the other thing is that you can also group together the stores. So down here, you can see like I've grouped my stores together. I've used New Jersey store, New York stores as an example. So I can put all of those stores. So maybe I need to run reports on those. Maybe I need to be able to target those stores for a specific pricing or cost need. Or another example is we run into frequently where you may need to have different targets for the POS table because some states charge bottle deposits. Some states don't, so you may need to have that ability on the POS table to target those or different tax rates. So that would be one way you could group them together. I also came up down here with zones. So I may have different pricing zones. So you can really utilize the targets to be able to make it more efficient and be able to use these to really make it easier and be able to group together the stores in the way that suits you best. So I have a few examples up here. So I have like this item right here that I have pulled up. I have a pricing for my New York target. So right here is where I would target. This is now, if you're used to it in a store environment, this is not an editable field. Now it is an editable field. So I have a price for my New York target. I also have a price for my PAL target. PAL is the default target that it's kind of the fallback value. If no other pricing exists, all the stores will always belong to the PAL target. So this would be the default, the drop back price, we'll say. I have a zone 2 price. So you can see right here where you can maintain different prices for all those different targets and be able to send them down to the store. You also have that flexibility to do that in the POS table. So in the POS table over here, I have a target specifically for store 2. So just store 2 needs certain needs. It could be a taxable. They need tax 4, no other store does. Maybe they're in a county or a city that needs that. Or I like to use the example of maybe you need to have a bottle deposit. So like my zone 2, I have a bottle deposit because that may be a state that requires them. Other states don't. And then I have my PAL target. The best practice at the host is always to have a PAL target because the PAL is the default target. If all else fails, if you don't have a specific target by store, if you don't have a specific zone target, it'll always go back to PAL. It's kind of your catch-all. And the way that we do that is that we set priorities, and we would work with you to set the priorities appropriately so that you would know when you're assigning these price targets, these POS targets, or the cost table. I have cost tables down here where I have specific costs for like my New York target, my PAL target for the same vendor, because some of my stores may have different costs, that you would want to, if what would happen if, like, for example, I have a store that exists in both the New York target, the zone 2 target, and the PAL target. Let me just go ahead and I'll extend these details so you can kind of see this a little bit better. So I have all of these three pricing. So if a store exists in all of them, so if I go into my New York stores, I can look at the details and it says, oh, I have stores 1, 3, and 4. But in zone 2, I also have stores 2 and 4. So 4 exist in both. And then PAL, like I said, everything is always in PAL. All the stores should always be in PAL. So store 4 exists in there as well. So what we do to work around that is we set priorities. So over here, we set the priorities. And again, this is absolute best practice. We would sit down and make sure that you know what your priorities are. Usually it goes from the most specific to the least specific. So PAL is the least specific. It's always all your stores. So it's the priority 1 being the lowest priority. It's kind of flipped. The lower number is the lowest priority. So that's if all else fails, if it's not in another target, it will go back to PAL. The next one, and I usually leave a gap. It doesn't have to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can leave a gap in case you want to add some more targets later on down the road. So then I have my New York and New Jersey stores, and that's the next lowest number. So that is if they exist in the new, so for like my example over here, if it exists in the New York target and it exists in the PAL target because this has a higher priority, this will take priority over that. The next highest one is my level 7 because that's another higher number. So since that store 4 exists in zone 2 and in my New York store and in my PAL target, since the highest number, it's going to go off the highest number is 7. So it'll get that pricing. And you don't have to do anything additional. You just have to understand the priorities and understand that as soon as you create one and assign it, it will make sure that the right price is sent to that store, the highest priority price. We always highly recommend that the stores are the highest priority. The reason being, if you are coming in and I have 4 stores. If you have 4 stores, if you have 10 stores, and you're coming in and creating an individual target for that store that's only going to that one store, we assume this, and I think it's a good assumption that is a high priority. That is what you want that store to have if you're creating an individual target for that store. So that's going to be the price you want. So we always recommend setting the priority for the individual store to the highest number. So you can see here, I set all of my stores and it is 9. And it doesn't matter that they're all the same number because I'll never have a store 1 in a store 2 in a store 3 in a store 4 for. Let me just go ahead and hit that. So I'm only going to have store 4. I wouldn't have store 1 in my store 4 as well. So it wouldn't overlap with the priorities. That's the only reason you would not want the priority numbers to match is if there's going to be an overlap. If I have a store in the New Jersey target and in the New York target, we wouldn't want them to be the same priority. But as long as there's no overlap, they can be the same priority. So that's just a really good best practice to make sure that you have the priority set like you want. And you understand the priorities so that when you're creating these, and this carries over to all of these tables, not just for the pricing table, if you have multiple POS tables, multiple targets for your POS tables, which one is your highest priority? That's the one that's going to get sent down to the stores. Same thing with the cost table, but only if the vendor is exactly the same with the cost table, then it would matter for the target. So like for my example down here, they have a cost for DARE and they also have a PAL cost for DARE. So this way the New York target would go down to the New York stores over the PAL. But I also have a PAL target for my K001. And since that's the only target, that one will go down as well because there's no matching vendor. Those are the 3. A little thing to remember when you're looking at this, as you start getting a lot of different targets, you start creating a lot of price tables, a lot of POS tables. This little number right here tells you how many you have. So right now I have 3 price tables with 3 different targets. I have 3 cost tables. I have 4 POS tables. So that way you can kind of see, you can expand the details like I am doing right here, this little down arrow with the lines. That way you can pull up the full price table. So you can look at all of them. You can do the same thing with the cost tables as well. That way it's just a little kind of way that you can look at that, see how many you have. This can start taking up a lot of room as you add and expand all the details. So just so you can see that, you do know that that is there, but you can expand them and save that if you would like. The one table that does not have multi-target is the main table. This is PAL only. There's no multi-target possibility on this. If you open the details, you can go down as far as you would like. There's no target like there is here. So this always has to exist. The main item always has to exist. So this will always be the same at all of the stores. And I'm looking at item maintenance. Just this will carry over if you're looking at any of the different tables. Maybe you're just, for an example, we'll just pull up the vendor table. You can target your vendor tables as well. So maybe you have specific vendors. You can easily come in now, and this will now is a multi-targeted table as well. So you could target your vendor. So if you have a vendor that's at one store or a vendor at a group of stores, you only have your New Jersey stores, only your New York stores, only your zone 1, whatever it may be. And you can go ahead and target those vendors specifically to those stores as well. And just as an example, they all have this multi-target functionality now when you're at the host level, so you can control what is going down to what store and what exists at what store. A feature that's available in the host is a new utility. So if you are familiar with SMS, you have SMS on your store, there is the utilities right here. You may have seen this, maintenance utilities. It's a nice little quick way. This still works at the host. You can apply changes, display changes, deploy changes, print labels from the host if you would like, and all of that functionality. But they've added this new one at the host only, where it's multi-store utility. So it's right underneath here. It's utilities multi-store, and it's this window right here. And what this does is it just gives you some kind of host only kind of things that you might want to use at the host. And it's a really nice utility. So first off, what it does is right here, this Windows, I had the target table open, so I could show you the targets, but that's actually something that's quite useful to have open at the host. If you're working with multi-targets, you may want to see what your targets are. So this is a quick button to open up your target. Right there, that'll open up the same table. You can just expand your details, same arrow down with the 2 lines to get the same target table. So that way you can have this open while you're working, just as a point of reference. You can flag the active item for deploy. So if there's a reason you want to re-push an item down for deploy to the stores, you can flag those items right here. This would just flag the one that you're checked on. Just like you usually run a deploy change at the store environment to push down to the lanes, this will flag the item to push down with no changes. Price exception per store. This will give you if there's any price exceptions you're running into that you can look at to view if there's any price exception between the stores. Item movement per store. If you want to see the item movement per store, this will give you an idea of the item that you're highlighted. It'll be right here, and it will tell you what items are moving and how they're selling at each store. There is no inventory at the host, since the idea is that the inventory, the items themselves would be kept at the store level. That inventory is still all being tracked at the store, but the host can view the inventory and view the movement at them. There should never be sales coming from the host. That's not the purpose of a host. So it's just a way to view the information, the item movement and the item inventory happening at the store. And then down here under browser tools, it's flagged for deploy. So this would flag the entire browser. Whatever you have pulled up in the browser, it'll flag it for deploy. So you can re-push these items down to the store if you think that there's something going on at the store level, that these items aren't matching up. And then coming back up to this, a large part of working at the host is you can control. You may want to push all your changes down with the deploy change, or you may only want to push everything down with batches. So they have this right here where you can just deploy the batches from here. You can pick what batch you want to deploy down. So my new items for store 2, I can deploy that, and then I can pick my target, and I want to send them down to store 2. and then I can deploy the batch down. Now this is available as well over here. You have deploy batch to stores, but it's just a little quick way that you can do that. The other thing that they have here is if you want to copy a target. So for example, I want to copy, I'm creating new targets. I want to copy a target. I have this target over here for we'll just use New York on my point of sale. I want to copy this target to a new target. I can use copy target. What table do I want to copy the target one? I want to copy it from the POS table. My source I want to use is New York. That's the one that I want to copy. And what's my destination target? I'm going to make a New Jersey target. And then I hit go ahead and I hit copy. And I refresh my item. So now I'm at 3. And now I have a New Jersey target that's an exact duplicate of my New York target. So I don't have to make the entire target. I can just make the changes I need to make. It's not taxed to in New Jersey, and I can deploy it down. You can also do the same idea right here where you can delete the target of the item. So you can come in and delete the target. Again, you would pick your table. I'll pick my POS table and I will delete my New Jersey target. Maybe I don't need it anymore. It can default back to PAL. I can go ahead and delete that and it will delete the target, delete the whole target New Jersey. I can hit yes. And then now I don't have that New Jersey target anymore. So just a nice little tool that's available within the host that you can use. Again, like I said, this maintenance utility right here is still available. This still all works, but this is kind of an additional that you can use at the host level. The other part of having a host, a big part of having the host is the reporting that's available with the host. So again, like I said, I'm going to switch over to eSuite just to show you there's a lot more flexibility in eSuite with the reporting, especially at the host level. So I'm just going to bring up eSuite. So again, if you are unfamiliar with eSuite, SMS and SMS Pro, this is the new module that's available. It layers over SMS and SMS Pro. So right now you have a hybrid mode where you can be running both SMS Pro and eSuite on top of that. It all talks to the same database. It's just a newer module that's available. It's got a lot of flexibility. It's actually not a program. It runs on a browser. It does have the same login, so you can just log into it, the same as your SMS credentials. And there's a lot of flexibility available with the reporting with this, specifically with the host, that makes it very useful. So a lot of the reports in SMS, I'll go back to Pro really quick. All of the reports that are available in the servers are available at the host environment. You can come into the reports, you can run them, and you can run them on all of the stores at once. So you can come down here. RAL is like PAL for the maintenance portion of it. RAL is all of the stores, and you can easily use any target and you can create new targets if you would like. So if you want, like I flagged my New Jersey and New York stores, both programmable and reportable, but you could just have reporting targets and group together the stores in whatever way you like. And you can easily pick whichever one that you would like to run the reports on. Now, in SMS, you can run the reports that will certainly work, but it will group together all of the stores together in whatever way that you've picked it. So in my store multi-totals, I picked RAL, I can pick store 1, I can pick store 2, I can pick New Jersey, New York, but it will add them all together unless I run the individual store targets. So I'm going to switch over to eSuite just so you can see some of the flexibility available here. So most of the reporting is available under dimensions for the sales reporting. There's also financial reporting, but I'll just kind of focus on a couple of the reports. They all work the same way. So if I was wanting to run and see how I'm doing all my sales by sub-department, I can come into eSuite. I can run a sub-department report. I'm just going to run a single total. This is available in all of them, but just it's a little easier to see in single total for this purpose. So if I go into single total, so I can use the same targets right here. So like I said, RAL is going to be inclusive of all of the stores. I can hit the show search tool and I can have all of the different targets available. So I can still run them each individually. I'm going to keep it on RAL though, because down here, there's an option where you can have a breakdown by store. So I can do a breakdown by store. You can pick your time period. I'm just going to stick to today, but you can pick your time period, day, week, month, year. You can also have a breakdown by date if that's something you would like as well, week by day, month by day. And then when you execute it, so instead of getting one lump sum of all of the sales and rail together, I'm also getting it broken down by store. So I can see how each individual store is doing by department without having to run multiple reports. So if I was looking at this, I'd have to run it on store 1, store 2, store 3, store 4, because it doesn't give me that breakdown. eSuite gives you that flexibility to have that breakdown. You also get the grand total down here. You can also easily uncheck it and just get the totals for each one. And then you can also sort them. So I have it broken down by default. It's giving me the store. But if you wanted to say, well, I don't want to see by store, I want to see by my subdepartment, you can go ahead and sort right here by subdepartment number, and it will show, okay, so here's how I did in store 1, store 2, store 3, store 4, and you can get a little direct comparison. This is available in all the different reports that you have in here. So if I look at just, for example, financials, again, right here, it's got that breakdown by store. So you can easily get that. You can do it all together, absolutely, but you can always break it down by store. And you also have in departments, subdepartments, categories, all of the different reports. The other thing that eSuite offers that's really nice, especially at the host level, is going back to our list, is there's a comparison. So if you wanted to compare your targets, so if I come into compare totals, you can pick your targets and actually compare, so you can see how your stores are doing comparatively to each other. So I can come in here, you can do it on all your stores, of course, but you can do your search tool and I can say, well, I want to compare how my New Jersey stores are doing versus my New York stores. So you can do any target that's available. I want to see how store 2 is doing versus store 3. Whatever it is that you're looking for, and you can run this, and this is available in departments, subdepartments, categories, anything that you're looking for, you can run and do comparison totals. So I'll just do that. I'll just do my New Jersey stores and I'll do it versus my New York stores. So get a little bit of the group together. You pick your time period up here. I'm just going to go ahead and say I want to do it by day. I want to do it. I want to look at the same exact day. I don't want to have one day versus the other. You can do. I don't want to do one day versus the other day. Oh, today. There we go. Sorry. Thought it worked with today, but I just have to get rid of that to have it just showing the one date. So I'll just go ahead and execute. And now I can see the comparison. So right here, my main target is New Jersey. It'll always show you up here what your main target is, and your target compare is New York. So that's my compare looking at these columns. So I can see how my New Jersey stores are faring by subdepartment against the New York stores. And again, you can run this by any date and time, date period, and on any of the targets that are available. And this is also available, again, departments. I mean, I can click through these categories. I have that single total, compare total, multi-total, family codes, departments, and also financials. So there's a lot of flexibility where you can look at this, look at the store's data. You can break it apart by store. You can add it all together, and you can also do comparisons by store. Just some additional functionality in eSuite that's not currently available easily in SMS Pro. It is available. You just have to run a few different reports to really get that comparison, where here you can get it all in one. And with that, Angel, have we had any questions come in?
Yeah, we had a couple of questions. So the first question is, what is the best way to add operators when you're in an existing store adding a host?
So the answer to that is, like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of flexibility with how you want to configure the stores for doing maintenance. For operators specifically, the best way to do it, if you have an existing store or stores and you want to add a host on top of it, the easiest way is to just let the stores do the operators individually and not have any hosting. It's easier to do hosting with the operators if you do that at the beginning before the stores are introduced, because you don't want the operator numbers to overlap, which if they have an existing store or stores, you may have some overlap going already. So it's kind of recommended best practice is that you don't want to probably do the operator maintenance. If it is something you do truly want to do when you have a couple stores and you say, I want to add a host, I want the host to be able to do the operators. I want all of my maintenance for the operators to come from the host, which is an option. Best practice is going to be, unfortunately, to delete all the operators, kind of go a clean sweep, recreate the operators at the host with the correct non-overlap and push them all down to the stores. You can just have the operators run individually at the stores, and it just doesn't, you just will not be able to run operator reports at the host is the only thing that you would be lacking.
So the next question is, what version of SMS do I need to be on to qualify to use eSuite? Sorry.
The earliest version that was available was 3.5.07. I would recommend the higher version that you're on, the more functionality that's available. But it was 3.5.07 that it was available, but the higher version that you're on with SMS is they've added capabilities with each new version. So like 3.5.21 just came out, so it's got a lot more functionality than what was available in 3.5.07, but it is available in 3.5.07 and above, and 3.6.
And I can reach out to you after this webinar to give you some additional information and talk to you more about that. Our next question is, how many stores qualify for a host?
Anything 2 and above. As soon as you have 2 stores, you can add a host.
Okay, I think that might have been our last question, Jen. Thank you so much. So just so you guys know, next month we'll be hosting our Lunch and Learn on Thursday, August 29th, to review flip chart overview. If you have any questions regarding what we reviewed today, send us an email at sales@stcr.com, and I'll follow up with you and give you any information that you may need. I hope you all have a great day, and thank you for joining.